Hey everybody, welcome to Black Lotus Live, where we talk about all things strange and unusual. And tonight we have a pretty special guest with us. We have Danielle. Now I'm going to butcher your last name.
Everybody does.
Oberosler, is that right?
You actually did it really good.
Oh, okay. But she has a pretty amazing story to tell about a haunting that occurred in her guest house. And if you go down to the description, the top link there is a link to her Amazon page with her book. And I would highly suggest that you check it out. But so let's get this thing rolling. Danielle, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a tattoo artist. I've been tattooing for 30 years. I think I've always, had ghost encounters in my life, like from young to, I just figured everywhere you live, something's gonna kind of wander through or whatever, so it wasn't such a big deal when I bought this house, that I saw a thing here or there was not a big deal to me, I think if you're a sensitive person, you just encounter things throughout your life.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that is the minority of people. Would you say people that can sense a lot of it? You think that's the minority of the population?
I wouldn't know like the population, the cross section and whatnot. Maybe because it seems like I would live in a group home with like roommates, and I was the one that was seeing and hearing everything. They knew there was a ghost because all the plants and the footsteps they could hear, but they weren't being talked to in their ear and stuff like I was.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think everybody has the ability.
Yeah, of course. I think so too.
It's a matter of developing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So tell us what happened in your guest house.
So I bought a house, not knowing, of course, it had the guest house was super haunted. And, eventually having somebody rent the guest house is when I started to hear stories about things happening in there. And then I was like, oh, shoot, this house is haunted. And while they lived in the guest house, it seemed to get worse and worse. So when they moved out, I had mediums come and paranormal investigators come and look at the guest house. Because, my friend that was living in there for a couple of years, her stories were starting to sound like worse and worse, just from, I enjoy watching, Dead Files or shows on paranormal. So like when you hear like, oh, the house smells like sulfur, it's like, ooh, like they always say that's not good, and my friend started getting scratched on her back. And bruises and things were happening to her that were starting to like not be like funny anymore. Whereas initially the things were kind of funny, like, oh, moving my stuff, can't find, tripping her, moving things so that she tripped over them. That kind of stuff was just kind of funny to us, but it just got less funny as it went on. And
how long did it take to escalate?
I think my friend lived in that house for like 2 years. Okay. And I don't remember how long it was before things started to not be good. She stayed in there though. And it seemed like my friend was not feeling well and her behavior changed. And, she just sort of changed while she was in there. So when she moved, and I wanted all along to get somebody in there to like check it out and see what was, going on. But I kind of felt like it was going to be bad news and I didn't want to do it while she was in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I waited and she moved back to Australia. She's a tattoo artist. She's my best friend, Hannah Tech. She's, mentioned in the book. But so once I get the paranormal, like the psychic medium in there, and she says, immediately she starts talking about a biker ghost and he's bad.
A biker ghost?
Yeah. She says that a biker lived in that house and he was like really bad. And he, she said something about somebody doing a satanic ritual in my house. And, instantly my mind goes to Charles Manson at the time. I remember because my neighborhood is really close to Spawn Ranch.
Oh, really?
I'm about a mile from Spawn Ranch. And so this particular neighborhood was where all the bikers lived. And, you know, anybody who grew up in the area has stories of like Manson hanging out and partying with the bikers and, you know, the whole time. So, you know, I got Stefan Brigatti, his paranormal investigator crew was here, called Pacific Coast Paranormal. I think they were doing investigations in my house for about a year.
Wow.
So they got a lot of photos, videos, sound. You know, they always let me be there too for the investigating, which was really fun for me, you know, to see it all, but kind of also to get answers. You know, I wanted to know what was going on. But yeah, they said the same thing: biker, satanic ritual. Then they figured a portal was in the back of the guest house.
Wow.
So so that was why it would change, you know, from like something tolerable to something really intolerable, like quickly.
And why was the back of the house? Why was that the location they thought the portal was at?
It's funny. Even the first mediums was like pointing. Well, my house had this like hole in the floor.
Oh.
When I bought it,
Yeah.
that was a little unusual. I had no idea why it was there, but
Was it like a well?
no.
Huh.
I only actually just this week heard a story about why that hole may have been there.
Oh.
The guy that was living here before me, he was a doomsday prepper. I guess he was hiding gold bars.
Oh.
So they think that when the kids sold the house out from under him, that maybe he, you know, ripped out his gold bars. So that's all, you know, finally some story about why there was a hole in the floor. But
Yeah.
But from the get-go, the first medium was like, something's in this ground right here,
Okay.
like where the hole was. And she was saying, you need to like get it out of the ground, whatever it is. Like, it's not very deep, you know, but she was pointing to that hole.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I started digging in the hole all the time, trying to find a body.
Did you ever find
Well,
anything?
they could have been.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say it could have been animals too.
Yeah,
that
well,
they were using for their satanic rituals.
I did find a bone that I did involve the police and have it looked at, and it did come back animal. But
Usually they start
anyways,
out like that. Some.
what? They
I
start
said
out that
usually
way?
they start out like that with animals and that.
Well, I since I tattoo a lot of officers, one of the officers I was tattooing, you know, I told him about, you know, the bone turned out to be animal, and he said sometimes when you're hiding a human body, you bury an animal on top.
Oh.
So if you're looking
I've
for
heard
what's
that.
that
Throw it off.
smell, you find the animal and you stop digging. But anyway,
Interesting.
yeah. So I don't know. I did find a really big chunk of obsidian in the ground,
Oh.
which
Wow.
I did remove from my property, but it was like huge chunk of obsidian in the ground. So after that, you know, well, we did Paranormal Witness, did a show about my house and all that, and that was kind of fun. But you know, that was years ago, and eventually the activity got much worse.
Did the
I
activity
actually
get worse each time after somebody would come and investigate?
no, well, it did ramp up while the investigators were there. People would get like cigarette burns
Ooh.
and permanent scars from being in the house.
Wow.
Yeah, it
It
was,
sounds like it was more of a demonic haunting.
yes.
Yeah.
I concur with that. So I had moved in with my mom and left that guest house empty for years. Like, I would say 5 years.
Mhm.
So I had popped into the guest house to grab something, a space heater that I needed about a year ago, and went back over to my mom's house where I was living, and that activity from the guest house went to my mom's.
I was going to ask if it followed you.
It did. And so, I had tried to get the guest house cleansed a lot of times and it never worked. But everybody kept saying, something's earthbound here. You can't get rid of it because it's earthbound. But it wasn't earthbound at my mom's. So, I wanted to get it out of my mom's house at least. And I tried to hire, the mediums that didn't get rid of it before. But they were unavailable. And one of them finally said, this is like too big, actually. And you need a shaman.
Whoa.
So I was like, I don't know how to find a shaman. Like, how do you do that? Just like Google one, I guess. So I hired one I found on Yelp, but he wasn't going to come to my house and close the portal at my house.
Okay.
He wanted me to come to his place. And I was like, I don't know, man. I did make the appointment because I wasn't sleeping.
Okay.
I don't know how long I had gone. But we were being messed with all night long. My mom, my daughter, and I were getting scratches. We could hear everything walking around our beds. The smells, like my daughter and my mom's room smelled like sulfur. Mine smelled like mildew. I had different stuff going on in my room.
Do you think it made an attachment to you?
I wasn't really sure because we tried even to put an RV out in front of my mom's house and get some sleep out there. And it went out there to the RV and we could hear like claw marks. And my daughter started sleeping out at other friends' houses, because she wasn't sleeping. So I would be like having something jump on me that felt like a dog, but I couldn't see it. It was invisible and I could hear it running around my bed and like the claws on the ground and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, it's not even human. It's not just the biker.
Exactly.
It's other stuff. And then my daughter would get harassed. My daughter would get harassed at the kid's house she was staying at. And the mom got attacked at a friend's house.
Wow. Interesting.
So, there was that. So I wasn't sure, like, is it attached to me? Is it attached to my daughter? What's going on? I did make an appointment with another shaman that was going to come and actually cleanse my mom's house and my house and try to close the portal here.
Yeah.
So I had basically, and he worked remotely with 2 other shamans. So I basically hired 4 shamans.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
So by the time I had my first shaman appointment, I went. I brought my daughter because I wasn't sure which one of us was it was attached to. So I laid on a. He had a Merkaba. He built this like copper Merkaba pyramid thing with crystals, and he had us each lay in it, and he used pendulum over our chakras and stuff. And my daughter's chakras were perfect, but mine were not. And so he said, it's you. And he had me lay on the table and he was looking at my root chakra and he dealt with whatever trauma I had. And then when that root chakra was better, he said, all right, so the biker has been, you've been leaking energy and you're feeding like, the biker and the demons and stuff.
Okay.
Or he didn't even mention the demons. He said, you're feeding the biker. He said, I'm talking to him right now, but I just cut off his energy and he's getting pretty weak. And I said, what's his name? And he said, his name is Tim and he knew you in life. So the only thing I can think of is he was here in the 70s, the early 70s. And that's when I was born. So sometime maybe when I was a kid, our paths crossed. So since my dad was kind of a barfly here in town, whenever the bars would close, everybody would party at my house when I was a kid. And I'd wake up with all these bikers like sleeping in my backyard. Oh, okay. So I'm sure, our
there's the opportunity was there for you to meet somebody like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. So anyways, he said, yeah, I cut off the energy. I also wanted to know if he was a Hell's Angel because this neighborhood is Hell's Angel. And he said, no, he wasn't Hell's Angel. And I said, was he Satan's slave? And he said, yes, he was Satan's slave, which is who Manson was hanging out with back then.
Okay. Wow.
So he basically said, all right, I'm going to throw him in the light. And then he just like closed his eyes for a blink and goes, he's gone. And I said, what about his demons? Because I know he had some.
Right.
And
Right.
he said, yeah, he had 2 demons and they're gone with him in the light being processed. And I'm like, there's no way that worked. but I've got more shamans coming.
Heather Sutherland says, tell him what happened with Jason and Jess.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, Jason rented my my house for a while. And so I know they had a few things happen. Like one time Jason was locked out of the house with the deadbolt from inside and he had to climb in a window, but I'm not sure which part she's talking about. I know Jess had been grabbed. She was grabbed on the crotch by a hand and she was called a whore.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure that was the biker. And then I'm trying to think which specific incidents that she's talking about. There were so many.
You had said that some investigators had come and taken pictures and gotten pictures. What type of pictures did they get?
So Tara Mead is she's like a award-winning spirit photographer. She has her own book called Spirit Photography out. She's part of the Pacific Coast Paranormal crew, Stefan Brigatti. I can share my screen right now and show you one of the picture of the biker.
Sure,
it's on the
yeah.
cover of my book, but let me share screen. I don't know. Okay, it's easier with 2. And what does this mean? Stop recording. Do. I don't even know if I could do this.
I do apologize. It can be done. I'm so sorry. I personally don't know how to do it, so I can't guide you. But he's
okay. Well, here's this. How about this? So cancel. This is the photo of the biker ghost. So you could see he in this. This picture is the full picture. That's the room, the window, the ceiling, and then the other picture is his face. So Tara zooms in to try to get the face. You could see his beard, his eyes, his nose. I think if I don't know. Can you guys see that clearly?
Yeah.
So she took a lot of the pictures. I used maybe 4 or 5 in my book to show some of the various ghosts in my house. There was also there's a picture with some non-human things as well that were pretty ugly. So
what is her method for spirit photography? I've heard some people maybe use smoke or even like vape smoke. Does she not use any medium in the air? How does she?
That one was she just took the picture.
Okay.
Without doing anything. A lot of her pictures she takes she does a flash into a mirror or glass and she gets the images in the reflections of the glass, which there's a lot of those as well that she took. That one, she just took a picture of the corner of the room and he was trying to manifest there.
A lot of these spirit pictures that you see, I think could be chalked up to pareidolia, but not that one.
I don't know what pareidolia is.
It's where you mistake an image for something, like when people see Jesus in a piece of toast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. I used other pictures in my book, but I don't want to put them on the screen because I think that they didn't, they don't look as good as they look on the screen as they print.
Right.
And I don't think that you'll see as well. There's another one. I mean, with that one in particular, I just showed you, you could see the ceiling beam through his head a little bit. He's somewhat transparent. And that's how it is in the other photos as well. There's another one. She took a me it's me, but there's like a face like jumping into the picture, and it's pretty creepy. That
So
one.
I would like to see more, and I'm sure the viewers would like to see more of these photos. So I'm assuming you could see them in your book. If we buy your book, are they in the book?
Yeah, there's I did put like 4 pictures that she took
Okay.
in the book.
And what about online? Is there a ebook we could buy or something on the internet where we could also see?
It's available as a Kindle as well.
Okay.
But you could also look up Tara Mead. You know, I know she's got her own book called Spirit Photography, and she posts on her Facebook and stuff. She posts a lot of the pictures that she takes ongoing, you know, at different investigations.
Okay, I did want to comment on something you said that was really interesting, was that one of the ways she takes photographs, she sounds like she has different ways, but she shoots a flash photograph of a mirror. And what I wanted to tell you, because if you're interested in taking photography, video of paranormal things, I'm interested in, I want to photograph a ghost or a UFO or a Bigfoot. But I think I've heard people say this, that like, look, if you just put, let's say I put a bunch of bait for Bigfoot. So by bait, I mean a bunch of pumpkin pie and like high quality gin, you know, stuff that he would like, apples and stuff. And I put a trail camera and I just pointed at that area. I feel like I wouldn't have success with Bigfoot, because I feel like that camera acts like a gaze. You can always feel some eyes on you. So what's recommended you do instead is you set up a mirror somewhere in the forest, like on a tree, and the mirror is reflecting the area where the Bigfoot's going to be. And then you point your trail cam not at the Bigfoot, but at the mirror, and that's how you catch it. I think that would work, because I feel like it like weakens the gaze. It makes it an indirect gaze, so you're not directly looking at Bigfoot. It's going through a mirror.
That's interesting, and I'm glad you told me, because I am trying to set up some trail cams here to catch some stuff it's not paranormal though, but
I think it's worth a shot, and it's inexpensive. That's the thing. It doesn't you just need to buy a mirror and play with your angles, and you're done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Heather Sutherland said she was talking about the time when Jason was at work and Jess heard his voice.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes things would mimic Jason's voice.
Oh.
So Jess, I'm going to mention, though, is clairvoyant. So she can hear and see stuff. So when she was in the house, you know, I think it did mess with her quite a bit. And so one time, she was home alone and she heard him, like, it's like he came home and he called her Babels. So he would walk in and be all Babels or whatever. And she heard him come home, but she looked around and he wasn't there. So it was imitating him or something. I don't know. But,
That's
you know, there was
a sign of a demonic haunting.
Oh, I don't know. There was a lot of ghosts in there. There was a lot of demons and various whatevers over there for sure.
Did there happen to be, during any of the investigations, did anybody ever catch a voice on the audio record that voice?
Every time they actually set up a spirit box, and I actually was there talking to the spirit box. It was very clear. It wasn't like any that I've ever, I don't know what one he had, but it was super good, because Hannah had come back from Australia, you know, and she used to live in there. And I said to the box, are you happy Hannah's back? And a man said, we know Hannah. And a woman said, Hannah is beautiful. So it was very clear, intelligent answers, different people.
Do you happen to... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it didn't sound like those things that are changing radio stations and you're hearing multiple voices say it. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, it sounds like you have a very high quality case.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It was Stefan Brigatti had that sound box, spirit box.
Okay. Yeah, my next question was, do you happen to know where we could hear any of these? Are these stored online on some of the people who recorded them? They have them on their website or something?
I can give you Stefan Brigatti's contact information if you like, if you want to pursue more of that.
Yeah, I would love it too. And I just think that people that are reading your book and people watching right now, maybe they want to listen to it as well, because it is very interesting.
Yeah, they did get a lot, but it's like they only shared, Tara would share some photos with me and that's it. Like I never got any of the video footage. I never got any of the voice stuff, even though I was there and I heard it.
Okay.
You know, so it's 5:26. So when the other shamans came, you know, the one shaman came who was working remotely with a woman who's clairvoyant in Canada. She actually is legally blind, but she remote viewed my house on a FaceTime.
Oh wow.
She talked to me for about 2 hours. She's actually the first one to mention to me that my daughter could see the demons, or that she said the demons know that your daughter can see them. So that was news to me. I didn't know she could see anything at all. She was, last year she was 15. So after that call with her, what she told me is that the ghost and the demons didn't travel across town with me and or like attached. What she said is he overlapped my house with my mom's, almost like they folded space. I don't know. I know space isn't a thing on the other side, so I don't know how he did it, but it's like he dragged my house over with him.
Right.
And what she said is he moved in and he had no intention of leaving. And, he considered himself my boyfriend and was trying to assume the role of a father to my daughter, which was, I don't know, not good. But so, the other shaman comes. He was more like a Native American shaman, trained, with the tobacco and the smoke and whatever. But he spent like 8 hours, I'd say 4 hours here at my house and 4 hours at my mom's, trying to, get rid of everything, move all the ghosts on, close the portal, and put a protection grid of crystals and stuff that he did. He did it at both houses. But
so did any of this stuff end up helping?
The first shaman that threw the biker in the light, the biker was gone.
Okay.
And the activity was much, much less,
Okay.
I would say.
Good.
But the second shaman came and he tried to get rid of the portal.
Okay.
And that did not work. He did not close it.
Okay.
And so, the first shaman that I went to and laid in the Merkaba, he wanted to look at my daughter some more. I don't know. He gave me a free session. He said, come back, bring your daughter.
Okay.
So she gets on his table and he spends more time with her. And he said, from a past life, as a fairy, she's Middle Kingdom, that she's very tapped in. And so he said, you don't need to keep hiring shamans to get rid of this activity, because she could just do it like very easily.
Oh.
Like by inner mind, just like, boosh, gone, you're gone.
Right.
And I said, well, this other shaman came and he like tried to close the portal, and he kind of indicated that my mom's house still had some stuff, and he left these crystals that were supposedly going to get rid of them, but I could still feel them because there was something in my room that was pressing on my chest, making me feel like I was having a heart attack.
Right.
And that was still happening after he left.
Not good.
Energy
So,
can split. It doesn't necessarily stay in one spot. It can go in multiple directions.
What could split?
The energy.
Well, I don't
Like
know,
the
but I know
Viper's energy or whatever.
Oh, well, I think because the
Energy
portal
itself can split.
Yeah.
Or whatever's in there, they can be in more than one spot at the same time.
Well, so what happened was we went home. The first shaman said, yeah, that other guy did leave some stuff. But, your kid could just go home and
Right.
he taught her, and now actually he said, I've been looking for an apprentice for a long time, and you're it. So we went home and I said, all right, what's in my room? And she said, well, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to make you mad because you spent a lot of money on that second shaman, but you've got this really tall shadow figure in your room. It never leaves your room. It just like looks at me from your doorway into my room, but it doesn't leave. And I said, all right, well, go up there and get rid of it. And she said, I'll try. And she, lit her sage and she went in there and did her little mind thing that he taught her how to do. And I'm like, well, is it gone? She saw, I don't really know. Cause she was just starting, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to sleep with you, and I'm going to text Michael Shaman in the morning, and I'm going to find out how you did and check your work. So, in the morning I text Michael, and I said, how'd she do? She tried to get rid of this thing in my room. And he goes, yeah, it was really great. For her first try, she did it. So that was cool. And then
You think it could have been a shadow person?
Oh, it was a shadow. It was a really tall, long shadow person.
Okay.
So,
did you ever, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but,
no worries.
You say that your daughter could see these things. Have you ever seen a manifestation?
I mean, I do, but I'm more like hypnopompic.
Okay.
So I'll see stuff kind of like when I wake up and it's around my bed, or, as I'm falling asleep type things, middle of the nights. I see stuff mostly then. So I feel everything though, and I notice everything. I'll see things like side of the eyes, like light shadows and things moving, and I'm like, what was that? Like, I do notice everything. I've always been intuitive and empath, so
I'm the same way. I have seen things like, for instance, we had a shadow person here at the house for time being. But generally speaking, I'm sensitive to the fact that they're there, So yeah, and Ralph and I have both had many paranormal experiences, but rarely do we see anything.
Well, apparently my kid sees it all, and it's only gotten better. But the portal was still open, and we moved back here, and actually she lives now in the guest house. But that shaman didn't close it, and so Morgan tried twice with the help of Michael Shaman, and it didn't close. And me, Morgan, Michael, my other friend who's a witch, pretty clairvoyant, we all were like, you know what? We need to burn salt in there and draw out the negative energy because it's too strong. So we burned salt in the house in a couple of spots that are pretty bad in the house. And then after we burned the salt, Morgan did her like inner mind meditative state. She pictured the portal like a door, and she just made it smaller, and then she closed it, and it's gone. I mean, I'm sure it's there, but it's closed.
Wow.
So she closed it. She's the only one.
She's talented.
She's next level, and she's only learning.
Now, after she's done this, have you still had experiences happening, or have everything stopped?
Well, so we, when her and I go in public, apparently she's like a beacon. Her light shines. She's interdimensional, so her light shines through dimensions, and it will attract things to follow us home. So we did just learn last week, and apparently I'm the same way a little bit. Like, I wasn't Middle Kingdom like her, but I've never heard I was Middle Kingdom, but apparently I've been an alien a bunch of times. So that's a whole other thing.
Not
but
a new one here.
Yeah. So, anyways, I've been Arcturian, and I also attract things. So we had to learn this last Saturday how to cloak ourselves and become invisible and cloak our house, because we did have something real nasty last week happen. So,
can you tell us if it's not too long? Can you tell us how to cloak ourselves? Let's just say we just want to do ourselves.
So a lot of this stuff is, it's intention, and it's in your mind.
Yeah,
so
that's
if
what
you
I figured,
imagine a way to cloak yourself,
okay,
whether you're a Trekkie and you imagine the way the ship cloaks, or we're more Harry Potter, so we're like invisibility cloak. And you just say, I'm going to make this permanent. This is a permanent cloak.
Okay.
And now, and we're, we believe that that's going to help us go out in public and come home. My house has an invisibility cloak that's permanent over it.
And do you have to feel, let me just clarify. Do you do this once, or is it better to continue doing this cloaking technique?
I think it just
every
depends,
week?
If you say this is permanent,
Right.
then the intention is that you should not have to continually do
Okay.
it. But if something is following you home and you're having stuff at home, you should probably do it again.
Okay.
Reinforce
advice.
Just to be safe, you know?
Right. Okay. Very cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, we just got that lesson. You know, Michael Shaman kept saying, you guys need to be invisible. You need to make it, but he never told us how.
His name is actually Michael Shaman.
Well, no, but that's his name on
Oh,
Facebook, and that's his name on Yelp,
okay.
but that's not his last name.
I was on your sister's podcast the other day, or her YouTube channel, and I was telling her about my experience with an abduction, and that they were dealing with Greys. And she asked me, she says, is your name really Damian Gray? And I'm still laughing about it, actually. I'm like, yeah, it is.
It's a little ironic.
Yeah,
My name is not Danielle Arturian. But so yes, we do learn a lot, and from Michael. Michael's so knowledgeable. If you guys are in the LA area, I would recommend seeing him.
Do you know? Maybe I'm curious about Shaman Michael as well. Where did he get his training? Was he raised in this type of environment where his parents were maybe shamans? Or?
So he signed up, I think, he's been doing this for 30 or 40 years.
Okay.
He signed up for metaphysical courses, but he sort of just instantly started teaching the classes. Like he seemed to know more than the classes could teach, and I know that his first experience, and I think what triggered it, had to do with serpent aliens.
Okay. Wow.
He's never told me if they're his spirit guides or if they're just part of his soul group, and that he used to be, maybe he's an reincarnated spirit, serpent. I don't really know, but I do know that he's very aware of his past lives, and that he actually was Imhotep.
Oh, wow.
So he, had to do with building the first pyramid and stuff. So it turns out he's my brother from another life as well, when he was a Mayan priest. So we were Mayans together.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Interesting.
So we've got about 20 minutes left in this. Let's talk about the Middle Kingdom. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know much of anything about it. So can you explain what it is?
Yeah. I didn't know either. And here I am, open-minded about aliens and ghosts, right, and demons. But when Michael first told me that my daughter was reincarnated from a fairy, I was like, what? That's insane talk.
Right.
But he said, no, they're real. And I'm like, okay. So, we get rid of the portal and all the ghosts and demons from my property, and it's real nice here. So I don't even know how many months ago, I was trying to sleep. I was not sleeping, and I was laying there with my eyes closed. And this thing was happening with my eyelids where, if you close your eyes and there's a light in your room, and somebody does this, you see that shadow over your eyes,
Right.
Yeah. So that was happening to my eyes. And I'm like looking around my room going, what is here now?
Right.
And I didn't see anything. So I closed my eyes, and it happened again, this light thing in my eyelids. So I look, and I'm looking around going, what is here? And this little gray head was at the foot of my bed, peeking around my feet. And I'm like looking, it's bald. I see this it moved very quickly out of my view, with my feet, behind my feet. And then it peeked on the other side of my feet and dipped down again. And then it peeked that way again. I'm like, what is that? Is that an alien? And I'm about to be abducted. Because you think it's a gray alien.
That's
but
what
I was
thought.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I can move my arms, so I'm not frozen. But I don't know what that is. So I actually went to sleep after that, and then the next morning, my daughter comes in my house, and I said, Morgan, what's in my room? And she stood in the living room and remote viewed my room, and she said, I don't know what that is, but it looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, what is it? Is it a dead person? Is it a demon? Like, what is it? And she goes, I told you, I don't know. I said, get rid of it. So she popped it into the light.
Okay.
So the next day, we're having dinner with Michael Shaman because, he's family, he's my brother. And I tell him, I'm like, yeah, we had this thing in my room that looked like, I guess, Gollum from Lord of the Rings. And he's all, yeah, Golems are so great. He's all, they're really good to have around the house. And,
It's like a
They're a lot-
cat. Like
What's-
a
what's
cat
that?
that gets.
What's that character's name in Harry Potter? Dobby.
Dobby.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, they're a lot of
Candy.
fun. So I said, he goes, you should try to get a picture of it.
Yeah.
I go, first of all, he moved almost faster than my eyes.
Right.
And second of all, Morgan got rid of him. He's gone. He's in the light. And he said, well, he goes, they're not alone. And I'm like, what are you saying? He goes, I'm saying they're not alone. You're saying I have more than one. And he goes, you have at least one more at your house. So sure enough, if I'm sitting on my couch watching TV, I'll see a little gray head look in my window. And
So they're not bothering you, really, and they're not playing tricks on you or anything like that.
He hid my remote control once, and it took like 2 days to find it.
No.
But it's funny because I was like, it was right here on the arm of my couch, and I'm looking. I took all the cushions off the couch. I stacked them like, where's my remote control? I looked under the couch. It wasn't there. So the next day I said to my kid, Morgan, look for my remote. And she lifted the couch cushion and she reached in and pulled it out. So I think it was there the whole time, but it was in the other dimension. And since she's so interdimensional, she could still see it.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, from what I understand, not all fairies are tricksters, but the majority of them are.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So I think, he's mischievous, but he's like Dobby the house elf. He gets really hyper and he gets the zoomies and he runs around my house. He gets really excited. He's very fast.
Wow.
But he does manifest physically. We have seen him run up the driveway in broad daylight. Just a couple of days ago, he ran across in front of my kitchen window. He's about 3 feet tall.
Okay.
So
Wow.
he's not too small. So I'm trying to set up cameras. I do want to catch him. He was just in my closet like 2 nights ago. My dog was growling, but he was invisible.
Right.
I couldn't see him, but my dog could.
Mm.
Um,
That does sound to me. If I was going to photograph this entity, I would try the mirror method. I think
yeah,
that
I'm
would
going
work
to try.
for me.
First, I'm going to try the regular method because I
Yeah.
know that he's. I
Tried and
know
true.
that he is physical. He does a show up physically. My other friends have seen him. Too. You don't have to be clairvoyant to see him. But Michael says I can ask him to slow down.
Hmm.
So I can get him. So we'll see. He's very fast.
No running in the house.
No running. So the other, so I do draw. I did do a drawing of him.
All right.
I've been documenting. I know this sucks that I can't share my screen so well, but
Oh, okay.
that-
Well, we can see that.
yeah, that's
Wow.
Precious.
Let
We
me put
named
it
him
at full
Precious.
screen. Oh, shoot.
We switched places.
There we go.
That's Precious.
Okay.
And
You
then
name him Precious. That's great.
we
How
did
tall
name
is he?
him. He's
How
3
tall is
foot.
he? 3 foot. Okay.
So I've got since my house was cleansed, we did have a famous ghost recently, and it was Charles Manson, and he was here for about a month. It was like, and I woke up and he was floating over my bed, and he was like see-through green, but that's what he looked like.
Wow.
He's like 30 years old, and before he had his forehead tattoo. He looks like what he looked like about when he was arrested. But he was here for about a month. These things are here at my house. They're kind of like that thing in Fantastic Beasts, right?
Right.
They live underground. They eat fungus.
Whoa.
My kid actually helps me. It's sort of like doing police sketches where she helps me draw. And this is actually fairies. So the redhead is my daughter, and the dark-haired one is her friend Jade, and they were fairies together, but they were different kinds of fairies.
Wow. Did you say your daughter does this art? Is that what you said?
No, I said I do the art.
Oh,
But
you do the art.
I draw them, but my daughter, so I meditate, and some of it I can see myself when I meditate to help me draw. But some of it I have to ask my daughter because I only get like little looks. My daughter can look and look and look and look, like, what about the nose? What about the mouth? What about the teeth? I can get all the details from her. So it's
Well, the art is very nice. The art style, just based on the pure artistic talent, I love it. It's very good.
Yeah,
You should see some of her ink that she tattoos.
Thank
It's
you.
outstanding.
I forgot
Thank
you are an
you.
artist. You are a tattoo
Yeah,
artist, of course.
I am. Yeah, we have gnomes. I've seen 2 different kinds of gnomes. There's a troll. It's hard because I try to focus this over the. That's a
That
troll.
reminds me of I can't think of the
Flame
name of it.
doctor.
The dark
Crystal.
Yeah,
Dark crystal,
she looks
yeah,
like a
yeah.
mystic, which
Yeah,
is funny
that's it.
because, yeah, so she's a spirit guide. My daughter's got a couple of friends that have lived with her in Middle Kingdom that have incarnated with her now. So they're all very clairvoyant. So they all help me with my drawings, very different ones.
That's cool.
I want to go back just to the pure art of it because it's really nice. What medium did you use to make the illustrations you just showed us? What mediums are you using?
I am drawing on my iPad, and it's an app called Procreate.
Procreate. Okay.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's fun. I can draw in layers and, add in more of I take realistic photos of nature and put it in the background. So my characters are sitting on toadstools
Yes.
and stuff.
That's very clever. I like that.
But I do have fairies are starting to take interest in my fairy garden I'm building right now. And I will tell you, my daughter, she says that if you build fairy gardens, they do move into them.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is real. My house happens
Do they have to be a certain dimension?
No, you just put them in your garden. I'll show you the one I'm working on right now. I have bought this little retro.
Yay!
So cute.
I'm making a fairy RV park.
Yes.
And
Cool.
I buy little birdhouses because a lot of the fairy houses that you see online don't actually have doors.
Right.
So I know that they're interdimensional and they can go inside. But how are you supposed to add the cute furniture?
Yes.
Right.
That's awesome.
So I've
That's
got
awesome.
some interest right now. A couple of fairies. We had a blue fairy checking it out, which is great because the blue fairies are healing fairies.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a red-headed fairy also looking, which is what my daughter used to be. So what I'm finding is that there's multiple species of everything. So there's different species of trolls. There's different species of gnomes. They look different. And there are different species of fairies.
Sure, why wouldn't there be?
I'm just planning to document them all. I know that Precious manifests physically, but I don't know what to expect with the other stuff. If I would ever be able to catch any of that on camera for real.
Right.
I wish I could share
Start
my
talking
screen.
to 'em.
Yeah,
Start talking to them, and maybe you could answer like with the spirit box.
what they do is they do communicate telepathically, and so when you're meditating here, they pop into they pop into your mind. They send a picture of themselves smiling into your mind. You're like, whoa. So I get a lot of gnomes, which is so cute. They're so smiley and they're like the size of a rat. But I had 6 of them pop into my mind one night when I was trying to fall asleep. And it's funny because they were all smiling at me. And so I tried to send them telepathically a red heart emoji. And they were so confused because they don't have cell phones. They don't know that means, love. I'm so happy to know you. And so I had to send them
They
just
might
my
have thought
face.
you wanted their heart.
Well, it's not even anatomically correct. So they don't even know what that is. They were just very confused. I could tell. So I sent them my face smiling back, and then they were very happy.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's very cool, actually.
Yes. But so my sister Julie had told me when I tell her about this Middle Kingdom stuff, she's all, I talked to a psychic medium, and she said that Middle Kingdom is just a thought form. Those beings are just thought forms. And I'm like,
Well, if that's the case, then explain Precious.
that
You know, I mean, that's a real thing that shows up. And
uh,
if you ever get a photo of that, you got to contact me.
I will.
Please.
Trust me, and I bet you, and nobody's gonna believe me anyways, right? Nobody's gonna believe. I could draw to I'm blue in the face, and nobody's gonna believe me about any of this stuff. So I'm like, even when I get it on video, somebody's gonna somehow say I made it on a program or something. I'm sure nobody will believe.
Sure,
me.
they are.
Mhm.
Sure, they are. We're in the UFO community.
say
That
that
happens
about
all
everything.
the time.
I
You
know,
know?
but it's funny because you could be open minded about some of it, but not all of it.
Mhm.
So I don't know what this medium told my sister that they're thought forms, and I don't know which person said that to her, but I'm wondering, well, then are we thought forms too? Because here we are in our meat suit, living out these lives that we picked for ourselves to learn lessons. Is that not also a thought form?
Well,
I don't know.
that would be existentialism, really. But
So I don't know what they mean by that. They are real, and I told her they're actually higher vibration than us. Like they can
Right.
do magic, they can communicate telepathically. They're interdimensional for sure. So they're above humans.
The mind consciousness can create something, and after a while, after so much energy is put into it, it takes on a physical form.
Yeah. So I mean, with that idea, then that's kind of saying that humans thought up fairies, and that's why they exist, instead of maybe a human was somewhat clairvoyant and they popped in their head and they started drawing and writing stories about them. You know what I mean? Or
I know what you mean, and that's really interesting because whenever I look at a paranormal thing, and I'm trying to gauge someone's opinion, I always want to know this. I want to know, is this a discrete entity? Is this something that exists outside of you? Or is it something being caused by you? I do see that distinction, and I see that your interpretation, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you're saying that you like it to be, or you believe it to be a discrete entity. Like it does exist outside of you. It's got its own mind and its own life.
yes, my house is on the dimension line with Middle Kingdom, apparently.
Okay.
That's why it's so active right here.
I got to see, what's really interesting about your story is that, well, it's just really riveting to look at your journey from where you start off with I would say terror, being very uncomfortable, being medically in peril, and then your struggle of finding a solution, which is one of the hardest things to do, is find a paranormal solution. And then it's interesting to see how you've evolved now, and now you're making art. You're trying to engage with it by photographing. That whole journey is so fascinating to me, and so
Thank
many.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean it. And so many of the things that you mention in the story, they ring very true because you hear them in all these legends from a long time ago. So many I could think of, and so many personal accounts that it just rings true. It matches with everything that's been going on for centuries.
I just feel like people were probably in tune, throughout time, and there have been psychic mediums and clairvoyant people that have picked up on Middle Kingdom before, and so they've been written about this whole time. So it seems like it's a children's story, and we may have created them with our consciousness, but I just don't think so. And I also what was I going to say? Oh, the other thing I noticed is a lot of times when my daughter, so now my daughter gets hired to cleanse people's houses.
Oh, wow.
So she's constantly cleaning like demons right out. But when she tells me what they look like, a lot of times she's like, oh, that movie we saw, and there was that thing. And, it's always this thing that was already in a movie. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like, are the people designing the things for the movie somehow tapped in and, designing something that already is there?
Well, that's funny. I had the same thought. No, I think what happens is that, well, I'll give you an example. Like, there's this movie called Monsters, Inc. It's a children's movie by Disney, by Pixar.
Yeah.
In the story, monsters are real. They live in another dimension. They come to our dimension. And the reason they come here is to terrify children, because they're getting energy from that to power their cities. That sounds exactly what really happens. Like, there are discrete entities like what you deal with that actually want your fear. They use it as energy.
They definitely want your fear. They
So
definitely.
so that's an example of it being in a movie. So what I think is going on is these thoughts are real. They get spread. The legends get spread throughout the world in different cultures, and then people hear about them, including the people that write the movies, and they incorporate it into the film. And that may be conscious or or unconscious. It may just be in the back
I
of their
know
mind.
it's so weird. Sometimes I'm like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Like,
Right.
Was the monster first? I don't know. It's the same idea with the Middle Kingdom, but I think there was already negative and lower vibration creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about that. Us creating these things. I mean, think about the story of the Slender Man,
Right.
which was originally a what's that website called?
Creepypasta.
Creepypasta story, and then suddenly people are claiming that they're seeing this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was started out as a work of fiction.
Right.
So I wonder how much we do manifest these things.
I don't know, but sometimes I think like when I have an idea and it's like, oh my God, that'd be an awesome invention. But if I don't act on it now, that idea is in the cosmic consciousness already. And somebody else is going to make it. But I don't know.
I think because you're creative, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I'm sort of creative. We get so many ideas. I have the exact same feeling. I'm like, I need to act on this because I feel like this thought is going to spread. It's not unique to me. It's like I am tuning into it, but soon it's going to be in everybody's minds.
Yeah, but that's but did you create the idea, or did the idea float into your head from elsewhere? I don't. That's what I'm saying is these things are popping into my head. I'm sure they've been popping into other people's heads throughout time.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I also want to say that I think I'm a lot like you. Look, I have a bias toward wanting things to be discrete entities and not wanting them to be thought forms. The reason is because I'm a biologist. I study discrete entities. I study every kind of animal there is. I'll say right now, I love every animal that has ever lived, is living right now, or will live in the future. I just love them all. And they are discrete entities. So I'm very skilled at studying discrete entities. So when I look at paranormal things, I really would want them to be discrete entities because that's what I like to do.
I think, and so my house is on more than one dimension line.
Right.
So my house also, I do sometimes pop into alternate realities that are just my house, but it's a different reality.
Right.
That happens here too. So I know that Middle Kingdom is just another dimension. And shadow people have their own dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting. It reminds me a lot of radio waves. I was just learning about radio waves.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
So I meditate. When I meditate, I'll listen to a frequency and binaural beats that I want to reach. That if I want to focus on aliens, I'm going to listen to the highest frequency.
Yes. You could switch to these different channels.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to watch this channel called the Report of the Week, it's a great channel. But this guy was talking about shortwave radio. I didn't know much about radio, so I listened to his 1-hour video about shortwave radio. So apparently, like if you have AM or FM radio, then they don't really go that far. Like that radio signal will start to go away if you drive 50 miles away, 60 miles away. But it's high quality, right? But he was telling me there's shortwave radio, so you could buy a radio receiver. Shortwave radio, you could have the signal, and it will travel all across the country. So you could have it in Florida.
All around the world.
Yeah, really all around the world. It's a lower quality, but it's such a larger waveband. So that kind of sounds like where these animals are living to me. These entities are living on these different frequencies, like their equivalent of a shortwave radio, FM radio, and AM radio.
I think, from my experience, my friends that come here, I have a lot of friends that have clear abilities, So my friends that come here that I think have incarnated from Middle Kingdom, they pick up on all of it. They see it all.
And that's what's interesting.
But my friends that have clear ability that see ghosts do not see him so well.
Right.
And the other things so well.
See, as a lazy scientist, this is what I want to do. Because as a lazy scientist, I want to be able to just automatically view all of these different frequencies. Now, I can't do it because I'm not naturally born with that talent. Some people are. I could do it if I meditate and practice and hone my skill. I don't want to do that. I just want a machine, like a microscope or a telescope. Like a microscope lets us see
I'll
Tiny
tell
things.
you that my daughter and Michael Shaman are those machines.
Right. I would love to, but I would love to like reproduce, take what they do and turn it into a materialistic machine. I'm sorry, but I love my materialistic machines. I really do.
Well, if it's at all interesting, like we had a customer at the tattoo shop. She was saying that things in her house were being thrown at her.
Right.
A surfboard was removed from a wall mount and hurled at her.
Intense.
And I said, and I'm hearing her, I wasn't even the one tattooing her, but I hear her story and I'm like, my kid comes in and cleans the shop on Tuesdays. I go, she's here right now. If you want her to remote view your house, she could tell you what's there. I swear, $50, she'll get rid of it.
Right.
And she said, I'll give her $100 if she does it right now. And so she goes, I'm going to write down what I've seen. So she wrote down what she has seen herself.
Right.
And then my kid sits down to say what she sees looking. And she said, you have this really tall figure with black, messy hair and a black coat. Okay. She said, it's negative energy. It's a demon. And the girl said, that's what I've seen. That's what she wrote down. She goes, but I've seen a little girl too. So I think a little girl died at the house. And my daughter said, no, that little girl is also the demon. Pretending to be a little girl.
Oh, clever.
Okay.
Clever.
So when she tried, my daughter was trying to, it's really creepy. But when my daughter was trying to push it, the girl got a bloody nose and it was really putting up a fight.
Not good.
Yeah, it took 2 times to get rid of that one.
Well, it's been great talking with you. I
have so much more to say. Can I give one more topic? And I get one more topic.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get it in. This is another materialistic thing, but it has to do with the paranormal. For a while, I've been thinking, wouldn't it be great and profitable to make a security company? But the security company deals with the paranormal threats instead of physical burglars, And I was like, okay, well, how would I do that? I think it's a service people would like. This is cynical because I'm making profit off it, but it's just a thought. So I've been thinking, how can I do this? How can I offer the service? How can I offer the service to prevent people from being abducted or from basically, I think the only way to do it is I could just hire people to constantly monitor that house. It's like, look, your job is monthly to watch this house, or I could train the people to do it themselves. But perhaps they just want the service. They just want somebody to do it for them.
Well, so first of all, since we had a really bad occurrence last week, like I said, and Michael Shaman threw a protection over my house. We have cloaked, but he also created 4 gargoyles to protect our house for negative energy. So if it's not of the light, it cannot come on my property.
Okay. So I think that would be how it would work. I would have to hire other people to do it.
Yeah. You don't have to watch them every minute. You would just be setting up
exactly
things like gargoyles and security meshes and all sorts of
the last thing I'll say, I know we're running late, but go ahead, Kim.
No, go ahead, hon.
I was just going to say, it reminds me, I used to work wildlife control. It's a euphemistic term for 1 year. So for 1 year, I would catch all over the city of Houston. I would catch beavers, possums, rats, raccoons, snakes, birds, everything. Anyway, but it's funny because like when we would offer the service per month to help you, we would add things to it. Be like, look, this covers snakes. This covers birds. And then just talking about it, be like, look, this covers gargoyles. This covers gray aliens. It does not cover succubus and incubi, though. That's
I don't know how you would. You'd have to talk to Michael about aliens because he, I think, deals quite a bit with aliens. But
okay.
So I'm not. My spirit guide is an Arcturian, and my past life was an Arcturian, and I actually had that past life soul braided. So that's something he could do, is soul braid your past lives in. So you have the skills from that life, which are pretty interesting. Basically, we would need a whole other hour to talk about.
Right. Well, I feel like I gained a lot of information, though.
So we can find this Michael Shaman on Facebook?
He's in Julie's group on Ordinary Made Ordinary as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's there.
I'd like to have him on the show, actually.
You
Seems
should,
like an interesting
honestly.
guy.
Don't talk to us. Like, he could answer every question. Like, honestly, he talks sometimes a bit in like riddles that are vague, but otherwise he says quite a bit, and he's so knowledgeable. You know, so knowledgeable.
So, viewers, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and please share. And please check out Danielle's book at Amazon.
The
And
Haunted
it's
Guest House.
The Haunted Guest House. And
You might have to search my name.
no, you won't. I've got a link in the description.
Oh, right.
So, but I always say this: when you do subscribe, make sure to hit the little bell, and that way, and then click all, and that way you'll get notified every time we're doing this. We do this every Sunday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time and 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely check us out. So anyway, again, thank you for watching. Until next time, keep thinking and question everything.